I mean, I grew up reading. I mean, yeah, books were everything to me. I mean, did my family read? Yeah, my dad was a doctor, but both my parents were Irish immigrant kids. I mean, my grandparents all came over from Ireland, and I think that poetry was kind of like poetry, as it still is perceived. You know, you go to Ireland, and you know, you've inverted America, in that poetry is the most prestigious and esteemed cultural enterprise you could possibly undertake. And you know, Seamus Heaney could be president of Ireland tomorrow if he had the vaguest interest. So poetry was, I guess, viewed to be something that was valuable and useful in the universe. But not to say that it had any major place in my household, because it didn't. But I mean, I just kind of, but literature and being well-read and art and culture were viewed as very significant things, even though that's not what my parents did. They grew up in New York City, and they took it for granted that culture was, you know, made the world go round and was a good thing to be doing. So I grew up, I went to a Quaker school, a Friends school in Washington, D.C. my whole life, from kindergarten through 12th grade. And I guess, you know, unbeknownst to me, a mere child growing up, you know, not paying attention to what was going on, I was being inculcated with the notion that culture and sensibility were important, and that should be, you know, taken seriously. So I always played baseball, for instance, my whole, you know, youth and through high school, but I also wrote poetry, and that seemed like an equally useful or sensible thing to be doing. It didn't seem, you know, like extraordinarily odd, weird, or, you know, out of place to be writing poetry as a teenager to me. Not to say I took it that seriously or felt like this is what I was going to do, or that there was some destiny at play. Not at all. I guess if you'd asked me honestly, it would have seemed more likely to me that I would have become a poet than a baseball player. But if I could have picked, I would have said the baseball player. So, you know, so I was certainly writing high school and poetry, you know, writing poetry by my junior year of high school. You know, if you had a choice, you know, if your English class gave you any choice, if there's a creative option, I took the creative option. And, you know, if you could write a story or a poem, I liked writing stories, but it was like, it was work for me to write stories, and they, you know, and they come out and be like, okay, that's all right. But poetry was something that it was immediately a kind of really fluid exercise. I don't think those were good poems I was writing, but the act of writing poems came easily to me. It was like, okay, this is working. This is kind of fun and interesting.